I woke up this morning, I'm in bed, my wife comes out of the bathroom, she's got her phone, she goes, Trump tweeted you should be fired again. I was like, oh. And then I went downstairs and made bagels for the kids. It's like, late last night, the Angry Orange posted, why does ABC Fake News keep Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent and very poor television ratings, on the air? Why do the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air. I'm the bum. I'm the bum. And he posted this, I think this is interesting, at 12:49 a.m., 11 minutes after the show ended on the East Coast, which is nice. He watches us live. Hi, Mr. President. How are you? Thanks for watching us on TV instead of on YouTube. We appreciate that, and I'll tell you, it's viewers like you who keep us on the air, ironically.
Run, MAGA Mike, run. Doesn't it seem that every single day now, MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, is panicking in sheer terror in the halls of the Capitol building, running away from the press who have very basic questions to ask him? Just take yesterday, for example, where MAGA Mike was running away as the press wanted to know his response to Donald Trump calling for the execution via hanging of Democratic lawmakers who put out a video telling the troops not to follow unlawful orders and telling the troops that these Democratic lawmakers have their back. MAGA Mike attacks the Democratic lawmakers and says, well, of course Donald Trump did what he was supposed to do here. Here, just watch what MAGA Mike does. Here, play this clip.
Speaker, how you doing? The president posted that Democrats who urge service members to not follow illegal orders should be punished, it should be seditious, conspiracy, and punishable by death. Give me a response to that.
Look, I know the DOJ and the Pentagon are looking into the legality of all that, but what I can address is what everybody knows. That was wildly inappropriate. It is very dangerous. You have leading members of Congress telling troops to disobey orders. I think that's unprecedented in American history. And as the father of a young man who is, at the Naval Academy, going to be joining the service, I know young soldiers, airmen, sailors, they don't need that kind of nonsense from people in Congress. It is very dangerous. At a very dangerous time. I'm going to let others define what it is, but it's wildly inappropriate.
Trump's having a really, really bad week when he's rage posting about a late night comedian at 12:49 in the morning. And I'm not talking about just any late night comedian. I'm talking about Jimmy Kimmel, the one guy who seems to live rent-free in Trump's head, taking up more space than whatever's left of his hairline. So let me paint you a picture of what just went down, because this is one of those moments where you literally cannot make this stuff up. It's November 2025, and Trump is absolutely losing his mind over the Jeffrey Epstein files. And when I say losing his mind, I mean calling reporters piggy, threatening to revoke ABC's broadcast license, and posting unhinged rants in the middle of the night like a teenager who just got grounded. But before we get to Kimmel's absolutely brutal takedown that sent Trump into a spiral, let me give you the context that's making Trump sweat more than he does climbing a flight of stairs. If you're enjoying this expose of Trump's latest meltdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're documenting every ridiculous moment of this administration. And trust me, there's plenty more where this came from.
It's also sweet that even in the middle of the biggest sex scandal in the history of the American presidency, he takes precious time on the toilet to post about our show. Keep saying we have bad ratings, and you should listen to him, because if anyone knows about bad ratings, it's that guy.
President Trump's approval rating is tanking.
Plunging to a new low.
A new low, even among Republicans.
That's the lowest level of his second term.
That is the lowest it's been in his second term.
It is at a low of the second term.
The lowest of his second term.
La aprobación del presidente Donald Trump se desploma a los niveles más bajos.
Más bajos? What does that mean, Guillermo?
Its rating is very low.
Oh, so that's bad.
Yeah, bajo, low. Yes.
I have honestly lost count now of how many times the president has demanded I be pulled off the air. I mean...
And by the way, I just got to show you right here what Democratic Senator Mark Kelly had to say about this. Here, play this clip.
What does it say when the White House press secretary has to deny that the president wants Democratic members of Congress executed?
Well, Kate, It says we are in uncharted waters. I mean, I never expected, after serving 25 years in the Navy, flying combat missions over Iraq and Kuwait, flying the space shuttle, that now I've got to worry about my personal safety and that of my wife, Gabby Giffords, who was already nearly assassinated because of something the president said.
In MAGA Mike's face, doesn't it always just look like this right now? Let's just take a look at what else has been going on, though, as MAGA Mike and these MAGA Republicans are in utter terror, and they just don't know what to do since the government shutdown has ended. You know, in these hearings, I think they humiliate themselves like every single moment. Like, here you have MAGA Republican Senator John Cornyn, and he was calling costumed anti-ICE protesters and dancing grandmothers absolute lunatics. He goes, we really have to worry about those grandmas doing the Jane Fonda dances. I kid you not. This is verbatim what he said. Here, play this clip.
Committing physical violence to activists dressed as dinosaurs and rabbits. And in some costumes that I won't even hazard a guess as to what they are trying to represent. We've even seen some dancing grandmas trying to stop enforcement of our immigration laws. One Jane Fonda dance move.
On November 12th, 2025, House Democrats dropped a bombshell. They released emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, you know, the convicted sex offender who died under very suspicious circumstances in 2019. And these weren't just any emails. These were communications between Epstein and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, plus author Michael Wolff. And guess whose name kept popping up? That's right, Donald J. Trump. Here's the kicker. In a January 2019 email to Michael Wolff, Epstein wrote, and I quote, "Of course Trump knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Now Trump's been claiming for years that he barely knew Epstein, that they had a falling out, that he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep."
Talk about a snowflake, this guy. Every 5 weeks, he flips out and wants me fired. If you got this many threats from a neighbor, you'd have no problem getting a restraining order. The judge would be like, yeah, sounds like the guy's nuts. Boom. It's disturbing. You know, and you've done this before. You tried to get me fired in September. It didn't work. Mr. President, I admire your tenacity. If you're watching tonight, which I presume you are, how about this? I'll go when you go, okay? We'll be a team. Let's ride off into the sunset together like Butch Cassidy and the Suntan Kid. And until then, if I may borrow a phrase from you, quiet, piggy. Okay? We never stop.
At a time.
I don't know. What's worse, that or Lindsey Graham, and his face is like bright orange, like they're all doing the Trump bright orange thing going on with their face, or is it bright red? I don't know. And Lindsey Graham's like, I am absolutely suing Biden's DOJ and Jack Smith, and I'm going to make millions of dollars. And this is in regards to Lindsey Graham and the MAGA Republican senators creating a cause of action for them to sue the federal government right now, Trump's DOJ. The money would come from we the people, the taxpayer dollars, in connection with the fact that as part of Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation regarding the insurrection, subpoenas were issued lawfully by courts, and certain Republican senators' phone numbers showed up because they were speaking to Donald Trump in connection with the insurrection and related to January 6th, and the digits of their phone number showed up. So the MAGA Republicans passed a law to allow themselves to sue for $500,000 per time that their digits show up in the phone records subpoenaed by Special Counsel Jack Smith. So they could potentially get tens of millions of dollars, but it's going to be paid for by the taxpayers. Biden's not in office anymore, Lindsey Graham, but here's what Lindsey says.
But Epstein's own words paint a very different picture. In another email from 2011, Epstein told Maxwell that Trump spent hours at my house with Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent victims. Epstein referred to Trump as the dog that hasn't barked, essentially saying Trump knew everything but was staying quiet about it. Now, you'd think, with emails like this floating around, Trump would want full transparency, right? Wrong. For months, Trump opposed releasing the Epstein files, calling it a Democrat hoax, and trying to block congressional efforts to force their release. But here's where it gets good. Congress didn't care what Trump wanted. On November 16th, the House voted 427-1 to release the files. That's not a typo. 427-1. It was such a landslide that even Trump's most loyal supporters voted for transparency. The Senate then passed it unanimously the next day. Trump had no choice but to sign it on November 19th, ordering the Department of Justice to release the files within 30 days. But before he signed it, Trump gave us one of the most bizarre moments of his presidency. And that's really saying something.
He has his minions at the FCC now launching what they call a review of the relationship between TV affiliates and the TV networks, no doubt because of what happened last time they tried to strangle me. He's threatening ABC News. He's been trying to get Seth Meyers fired. And we learned today from The Guardian that Trump's billionaire buddy Larry Ellison and his son David Ellison, who are the biggest stockholders in Paramount and are now competing to buy CNN. The Guardian reported that Larry Ellison had a call with the White House during which they engaged in dialogue about firing some of the CNN hosts Trump doesn't like, including Breonna Keeler and Aaron Burnett. He thinks this is some kind of choose-your-own news anchor situation. I mean, goodbye, Wolf Blitzer. Hello, Dog the Bounty Hunter. That's what the president wants. He wants every channel to be Newsmax. And this Newsmax, they are funny, man. Even the news in North Korea is like, it's too much. This morning, they rallied around Dear Misleader, defending him against this preposterous idea that I would in any way connect him to the Epstein files.
Play this clip.
But I'm willing to work with my colleagues about the $500,000. I'm going to sue. I want to let you know. I'm going to sue Biden's DOJ and Jack Smith. I'm going to sue Verizon. It's going to be a hell of a lot more than $500,000.
And then you had MAGA Republican Senator John Thune saying, we've talked about that provision that Lindsey Graham was just talking about, and we'll see what the Republicans want to do about it. Maybe we'll get rid of it. I don't know. We'll see. Here's what Thune says. Here, play this clip.
You had a conversation during lunch about what you're going to do with this provision that allows senators to sue. Have you decided what you're going to do when the House sends that bill over to rescind that provision?
Well, we had a good conversation about that, and we'll have, I'm sure, a more fulsome conversation. Obviously, we'll see what the House does, but I will tell you that was designed, that was a Senate-specific solution. The statute that was violated applied only to the Senate, which is why we addressed it the way that we did. We strengthened that provision when it comes to allowing a federal government agency, the Justice Department in this case, to collect information, private information on individual senators. We think that's a violation of separation of powers under the Constitution. Obviously, Jack Smith violated the law in the way he went about that. This is something that needed to be addressed, and we'll see what the House does. And then we'll find out what our colleagues here in the Senate want to do. One thing I can tell you is there is a high level of interest in addressing the weaponization of the federal government, in this case the Biden Justice Department, against Article 1 members of our government here in the United States Senate.
Sorry, Thune. These guys are such liars. It not only made it into the law, so it's not a clean continuing resolution, it included a cause of action for these MAGA Republican senators. You know what it also did? It also eliminated any defenses that could be asserted by the DOJ. So essentially it becomes an automatic payment to the MAGA Republican senators. So while the American people were starving and are starving to death, as unemployment ticked up to 4.4%, as 20 to 30 million Americans will be losing their health care, this is what the MAGA Republicans are doing. And can we just have a YouTube cleanser, podcast cleanser for a moment? Let me show you Democrats fighting back against MAGA Mike and Thune and Lindsey Graham and this whole criminal cartel that is this Trump MAGA movement. Take a look at what Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett was talking about yesterday with respect to the corrupt Kristi Noem, who's the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. Play this clip.
On November 14th, aboard Air Force One, Bloomberg reporter Catherine Lucy tried to ask him a simple question. If there's nothing incriminating in the files, why not just order their release himself? Trump didn't answer the question. Instead, he pointed at her and said, "I kid you not. Quiet, quiet piggy." Yes, the President of the United States called a journalist piggy for asking about his relationship with a convicted sex offender. And this wasn't the first time Trump used that insult. Former Miss Universe Alicia Machado revealed back during the 2016 campaign that Trump used to call her Miss Piggy and Miss Housekeeping, telling her she looked ugly and fat. So when Trump's backed into a corner, apparently his go-to move is calling women pigs. Very presidential. The White House later defended this disgusting behavior. When asked about it, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt actually said, "If you're going to give it, you have to be able to take." Translation: if you dare question the president about his ties to a sex trafficker, you deserve to be verbally abused. And if you think this is bad, wait until you hear what Kimmel did with all of this.
I want to listen to Kimmel's words on this, because what he said was in jest, but it wasn't. We finally get to find out if the president is linked to this. There are 50,000 documents. If there was something with the president, wouldn't we have seen it by now?
Absolutely. I mean, we had a very contentious election last year, and most certainly they would have diverged this information to the American public.
I think we just diverged from the English language. The word is divulge, FYI. I think this lady went to the same law school as Kim Kardashian. Amanda Maki is her name. She might not be much of a lawyer, but I will say this, she has quite an eye for interior design. If you excuse me, I have to run. They're shooting a porn here in 20 minutes.
Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Not only has Secretary Noem been busy filming propaganda ads, she's also been busy cashing in on millions of taxpayer dollars. In fact, Secretary Noem has funneled millions of dollars to a company called the Strategy Group. The Strategy Group helped Secretary Noem win her campaign to become the governor of South Dakota. Corey Lewandowski, her top policy advisor, has worked with the firm, and the company's CEO is married to Secretary Noem's chief spokesperson, Mrs. Tricia McLaughlin. This is what corruption looks like. They're stealing money from the American people's pockets and depositing it into their bank account.
But first, do me a favor and like this video. It helps more people see exactly what Trump's trying to hide. Enter Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Kimmel has been a thorn in Trump's side for years. The guy made fun of Trump at the Oscars, roasts him nightly on his show, and has literally been suspended by ABC before because Trump's FCC chairman threatened the network. But Kimmel doesn't scare easily. On Wednesday night, November 19th, the same day Trump signed the Epstein Files bill, Kimmel opened his show with an absolute masterclass in political comedy. Picture this. The lights come up, audience is cheering, and Kimmel says, "We are carefully following the path of Hurricane Epstein right now. It is a Category 5. It's expected to make landfall sometime very soon." The audience goes wild, but Kimmel wasn't done. He continued, "We are now one step closer to answering the question. What did the president know, and how old were these women when he knew it?"
I'm not sure what exactly it was that set Trump off last night. I make fun of him every night. Maybe he was upset because he was feeling left out. You know, he wasn't invited to Dick Cheney's memorial this morning. All the other dignitaries were. Listen, all you need to know about what an explosively unstable disaster this man is for this country is that Dick Cheney voted for not just a liberal Democrat, a black female liberal Democrat over him, his fellow conservative Republican. That's it. You don't need to know anything else to know what a garden hose full of diarrhea this presidency has been. Trump did finally sign that bill to release the Epstein files. He signed the bill and posted this giant run-on sentence taking credit for the fact that the bill got passed.
hoax, but the American people aren't buying it anymore. His approval ratings are tanking. The Epstein files are coming out in less than 30 days. And Jimmy Kimmel is still on the air, making jokes, holding him accountable, and reminding us that we don't have to be afraid of bullies, even when they're sitting in the Oval Office. Trump wanted to silence Kimmel. Instead, he gave him the best material of his career. And now, every time Trump rage posts at 1 a.m., every time he calls a reporter piggy, every time he tries to threaten a network's broadcast license, we'll all remember. This is what desperation looks like. The files are coming, Donald, and no amount of late-night tweets can stop them.